Alright, Chiefs Kingdom, buckle up. The NFL offseason is officially here, and you know what that means. Free agency is about to shake things up. Every year, teams make moves that can define their season, and Kansas City is no exception. Will Brett Veach pull off another masterclass signing? Or will the Chiefs take a more conservative approach this time around? Two names that have been buzzing in Chiefs rumors: Chris Godwin and Dalton Schultz. Two potential weapons for Patrick Mahomes, but are they the right fits? That's what we're here to break down. But before we dive in, I want to know what you think. If you were Brett Veach, what would be your top priority this offseason? Drop your answer in the comments. Wide receiver WR, cornerback CB, offensive line, old defensive line DL. Now, free agency is always unpredictable. We've seen shocking trades, surprise signings, and big money contracts handed out to unexpected players. The Chiefs have some big decisions to make, especially with several key players set to hit the market. Will they spend big? Will they go for value signings? And most importantly, will they find the missing piece to get Mahomes and company another ring? Today, we'll take a deep dive into the rumors swirling around Chris Godwin and Dalton Schultz, two players who could bring serious firepower to this offense. Are they worth the investment? Let's start with Chris Godwin. Could he be the perfect fit for Mahomes and Andy Reid's system? Let's break it down. Alright, let's talk about Chris Godwin. His name has been floating around in Chiefs rumors, and honestly, the idea of him lining up alongside Mahomes is pretty exciting. But before we start dreaming about deep bombs and touchdowns, let's break this down properly. First, Godwin's track record. This guy has been a consistent playmaker for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He played a key role in their Super Bowl run with Tom Brady, showing off his reliable hands, crisp route running, and ability to make big plays in clutch moments. Even when dealing with injuries, he's proven that he can still put up solid numbers. Now, here's where things get tricky: injuries. Godwin suffered a torn ACL late in 2021, and while he bounced back, it's fair to ask, is he still the same explosive receiver? The Bucs' offense didn't fall apart without him, which raises questions about whether he's still a top-tier WR or if his best days are behind him. But let's say he's healthy and ready to roll. How would he fit in Kansas City? Well, Mahomes loves receivers who can create separation and make contested catches. Godwin checks both of those boxes. He thrives in the slot, but can also work outside, making him a versatile weapon in Andy Reid's system. Pairing him with Rashee Rice and potentially Xavier Worthy? That could be a nightmare for defenses. Of course, there's also the money factor. Godwin won't come cheap, and the Chiefs need to be strategic with their cap space. Would it be smarter to spend that money elsewhere, like on the offensive line or defense? Or should KC go all in to give Mahomes another elite target? Now, I want your take. Should the Chiefs sign Chris Godwin? Type Y for yes or N for nitrogen monoxide in the comments. While you do that, let's shift gears and talk about another potential target, tight end Dalton Schultz. Would he be a good addition to KC's offense? Let's find out now. Let's talk about Dalton Schultz. His name has been linked to the Chiefs, and at first glance, it makes sense. Patrick Mahomes loves his tight ends. But do the Chiefs really need him? Let's break it down. First off, Schultz has been a solid, reliable tight end throughout his career. He spent most of his time with the Cowboys before joining the Texans, where he put up decent numbers. He's not flashy, but he's consistent: 50-plus catches, around 500 yards per season, and a few touchdowns. If you need a dependable safety valve, he's your guy. But here's the big question: does Kansas City actually need him? The Chiefs already have Travis Kelce, and while he's not getting any younger, he's still the best tight end in football. Then there's Noah Gray, who has stepped up as a solid TE2, and Jared Wiley, a young player with potential. The reality is, if the Chiefs are going to add another tight end, they need someone who can be a game changer, not just a reliable option. Schultz is good, but he's not a future Kelce replacement. He's more of a role player, Would signing him be a luxury rather than a necessity? Another thing to consider is how the Chiefs use their tight ends. Kansas City runs a creative offense, and Andy Reid loves versatile weapons. If they're going to invest in another Tay, wouldn't it make more sense to draft a young, athletic prospect who can develop behind Kels? So here's the debate. Should the Chiefs sign Dalton Schultz or focus on a young tight end in the draft? Type S for sign or D for draft in the comments. With that said, tight end isn't the only position KC needs to address. Let's take a look at some other key areas the Chiefs should focus on in free agency. Alright, we've talked about wide receivers, we've talked about tight ends. But what about the other positions the Chiefs need to strengthen? Let's start with cornerback. The Chiefs have a strong duo in Trent McDuffie and Jalen Watson, but depth is a real concern. Names like Jaire Alexander have been thrown around, and while he's a top-tier talent, there are questions about his fit and cost. Would KC really invest big money in another corner, or should they look for a more affordable option? And then there's the pass rush. Chris Jones is still dominant, but KC could use another force off the edge to make this defense even scarier. Should the Chiefs prioritize a defensive end over a cornerback? But before we get too deep into defense, let's talk about something everyone seems to be forgetting: Rashee Rice. Remember how good Rice was before his injury? He was emerging as Miami's go-to guy. If he comes back healthy, does that change how KC approaches free agency? Maybe they don't need to spend big on a receiver if Rice and rookie Xavier Worthy step up. So let's settle this with a poll. What's the most urgent position for the Chiefs to improve? W are wide receiver, more weapons for Mams. T tight end, a future Kels replacement. CB cornerback, strengthen the secondary. Other, maybe O-line, pass rush. Drop your pick in the comments. One thing's for sure, whatever the Chiefs do in free agency will have a massive impact on the season ahead. And speaking of the future, let's wrap this up by looking at what we can expect in the coming weeks. Free agency is right around the corner, and every move the front office makes will shape the team's future. Will Brett Veach go all in on a big-name receiver like Chris Godwin? Will he add depth at tight end with a player like Dalton Schultz? Or will he focus on defense, reinforcing the secondary or pass rush? One thing is certain: the Chiefs are in win-now mode. With Mams under center, every decision matters. The right additions could be the difference between another Super Bowl run or falling short. If you've made it this far, I want to hear from you one last time. What's the one move you want to see the Chiefs make this offseason? Drop it in the comments. And if you don't want to miss a single update, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. We'll be covering every signing, trade, and draft move right here on Total Chiefs. Big moves are coming. And when they do, you'll want to be the first to know. Stay locked in, Chiefs Kingdom. I'll see you in the next one. Go Chiefs!